Today I'd like to share with you an experiment I did on the weekend. So this video will have like three parts. The first part will be I'll show you what I actually did. That's migrating over Obsidian nodes to Notion. And why I did that, of course, and why it was hard to do. Second part is show you a demo with the live migration of nodes. And the third thing is the implications, because this has, I think, some real proper implications that it brings to the world of software development. And it just, for me at least, it was like one of the first real bigger production things I did there, which also works for bigger projects with more effort. But I was actually stunned by the ease that it's possible to do today. You still need to know a bit about software development. So I would say if you're an absolute beginner, you couldn't do what I was doing here, but the implications are still huge. So let's get started and look at the problem. So the problem I'd like to solve is I want to switch over from Obsidian back to Notion. The reasons I explained a few weeks ago, I think on LinkedIn, for Notion partnering with OpenAI and other strategic things. And especially I need an API. So I do a lot of stuff with N8N and workflow automation. And key of that, of course, is you can automate stuff. And my previous stack with OmniFocus for tasks and Obsidian for nodes, everything separated was not quite good working with AI. Let's say it like this, because you don't have an API for both applications. You cannot do an agent that creates something for you, or all those cool Telegram demos. I built one myself. Like, they don't work. You just don't have the access. So that's like one of the main reasons. And the second thing is, of course, I'd like to build a big RAG solution over my Notion or entire Notion. Parts of that is already done by Notion itself, and maybe they are faster than me, but let's see. So that to the background, and now to the actual challenge. So it looks like this shouldn't be a big deal, because you just like do something like this, Command C, and then go to Notion and Command V. If you do that, you will notice that you won't get the images. We can quickly do that just to show you what's happening if we do that and better understand the problem. So the text is good, but as you can see, there's no images. There's always just like here pasted image and so on. And also the thumbnail messed up and everything. The reason for that is because those image paths are relative, and they're all stored in that ugly folder here with assets. And you would actually need to solve that to find the correct image. So in this case, like this one, then or open it in the Finder like this, and it's like here. And then you would need to copy this one image over to Notion, like see the right place, for example here, and then like do this. So that would be the manual process if you want to do that manual. Doing that for one node, probably is not a big deal. For 10s and 20s also not, but I have like 600 or 700, so it's just not possible. And if I want to get the full result from AI and from RAG solutions and that new age we are in, then I need to have a solid database foundation for it. So this wasn't practical, and there's obviously, and I was a bit shocked about that, no really good solution to it. So if I think about migrating over from Obsidian to Notion, back there are a few, but from Obsidian to Notion, there are not a lot. I also learned the API from Notion is pretty ugly. So they are treating that as blocks. That's what you can see and drag here and move. So that's like considered a block. And if you want to do that, what I did with copy paste in the API, it's more complicated. And also you have to like upload the images first and then replace the placeholders and the embeddings, and also for PDFs and everything. So that's like quite a thing to do. And I learned that just 4 weeks ago or so, they released the file API, a file upload API. So Notion didn't have one before, which is stunning to me as well. But nonetheless, now it's possible. Maybe that's the reason there wasn't much out there in the space. So I have a good message for you. Now there is. I just published everything over here. So you can use it and you don't have to get through the same pain as I did. And it's like open. I will paste it and it's all done with Claude Code and with Windsurf. But to be honest, the most part of it was really Claude Code. So I like tested the two solutions. Okay, before we go now into the demo, I'd like to show you what I did to solve it, because in the previous days, there wasn't a good solution to that because there was just two. Either I sit down and spend the time necessary to build that thing myself, which would probably have taken me anywhere from 3 days to a week, depending on the complexity of the APIs. You have to read everything. You have to understand the quirks and ins and outs of Notion, which are kind of complicated. And then you would have to like do it and try and see there's something not working. So it's an iterative approach. It's the same with AI, of course, but tremendously faster. To give you an example, how much faster, I did that whole thing yesterday evening, I think 2 to 3 hours, and today 2 to 3 hours. So all in, let's say 3 to 4 hours. And with a bit of a better prompt, with a few things I just like noticed while doing, where I had to rewrite or let it rewrite a few things, it would have been even faster. So that was due to my own unknowing of the Notion API and a few requirements I had along the way. So that said, that's like really crazy, because doing that manually would have probably taken me a week or two, and doing that by hand programming also. So with other words, it would have made no sense to even try it. So like just start over and put everything new in Notion and let the rest reside in Obsidian. So that was like also my plan. But now to the rescue came Claude Code and Windsurf. So how does it look like? I just created up here my initial prompt where I told Claude what I'd like to have, and gave it an NNN code block I'm using to transfer Markdown to those Notion blocks, because I knew that is already an issue with my other automations I built for myself, like the news flow and so on, but more on that later, or maybe next week or so when it's fully finished. And then it did all the research, and in the end came up with a real comprehensive plan. As you can see here, parts of it was already implementation, but it came up with a real specific plan on how to do things. And this was what I used as input to both Windsurf and Claude Code. So I evaluated the two against one another, and that was the result. So I have my Windsurf up here, and that's the Claude Code thing. And to be honest, I had a few iterations. So I think the initial commit I did there, you can see it on GitHub with the history and also what was fixed in between, was like, I would say 2 hours or something, while doing something in between, because I could just leave and let it run, which is also a bit more good to use Claude Code for that as Windsurf. They are working on something like that, and I think RuCode already supports it, but Claude Code has it natively, and it kind of feels a bit more polished or a bit more intelligent, if you can say it like this. So it seems that the experience was better with Claude Code. Let's just say it like this. It's highly subjective, just limited to that project. So maybe I'll change my mind once I try different things, because here you can obviously see the code. You need something like an editor where maybe you can even work with both at the same time with Windsurf and Claude Code for like certain areas or so. I've not figured that out fully yet. Okay, so that said, it just created me. This is how it looks like. So here it's like going over errors and fixing and checking and so on. So it's like everything doing itself. And the only thing you need to do if something's not working is like this here. I said it's missing entirely. This is not right. And then it's like going off, compacting the previous thing and running tests and like doing everything till the point it's working. and then you say just commit it to GitHub. It writes beautiful Git comments, as you can see here, for example. So everything is it's really tidied up here, what it was doing and so on. So it's really a great thing how it works. And it has its attribution to itself, which I left because it really helped me, or it really wrote everything. It has a comprehensive README coming along, and it's, yeah, I would say a good product where I can actually, I'm actually saying I'm happy to release that to the world because that's really working. Good. Then enough for the technical details, because maybe you're not a technical guy, then just like skip that section. Sorry for the long things, but usually I'm doing more strategic stuff nowadays, but this weekend was like diving into the source code once more for a small private project like this one, and I wanted to just show the details and the nitty-gritty inside. Good. So let's actually migrate that part. I trimmed it down to not have the subfolders here, so it will only like take these 4 nodes. And we're looking at this one because that has some images. It has some images within here blocks. So that's also something where it had an error before. So that's how it should look like with everything happening in the backend. And now just like spin it up and let it run. I can't show you the config because then I will reveal my tokens and secrets, but I think that's working. So as you can see here, it has like a progress bar, something I would never do for such a hobby project. So it's really doing it professionally, so to say. It has proper logging, it has log levels, it has dry runs implemented. So it's really sophisticated for a hobby project. And as you can see, it went through, it created all the pages, and here they are in my database, in my full on ultimate brain setup. And if you just look here for the backtester and compare, then you see it's like do them one by one, side by side. It's like the same thing. So here it's interesting. The only thing it didn't pick up quite well, which I didn't expect, was this one. So here maybe I just need to work manually for that. It did it as a code block, which is true, but that's an Obsidian plugin, so it cannot know that. And even those worked now because that was not working before. And it's looking exactly the same with all formatting and everything. So I would say it did a great job, and it really works. So now I can migrate over my whole Notion stuff, or everything to Notion. I also have here my NLN inbox for automated summary of stuff. And yeah, so that's a lot of things I will show you in the future. But for now, I would say this is really a game changer. And now let's come to the last part after you've seen the demo now. And that's the implications. So let's just pick up the code pricing, the pricing of that stuff. So I was building that with a plan of, where is it? I think it was 17. Yeah, here. It was here $17 per month, or 20 because I built monthly. And I could build an application that saved me, I would say 3 to 4 days, something. So I earn a lot more than $20 in those 3 to 4 days. Even if I would need this one, it would still be cheap. And it's like just working. So and it used a smaller model. So it was Claude Sonnet 4 instead of Claude Opus 4. So that's like crazy what you can do. And the increase in what you can build in what time is just insane. So I could probably spin up several of those together, so working on several projects simultaneously, and my role completely shifted. So I did never think, I don't even know the code, by the way. So I'm a coder like 15, 18 years now, I think 18 years, over 18 years already. I didn't look through the code. I just looked quickly above the functions and stuff, but I never like tried to understand what's actually in there, which is kind of good and bad at the same time. I also instructed it to do everything in one file because it's just one script. I didn't imagine it becoming that big, but it doesn't matter for that example. So that was my choice. It would have actually broken it down like you normally do stuff, but I don't care for that specific thing I'm building. Yeah, and if you just think forward what that means, my role completely shifted from thinking about all that small meticulous stuff like, is that function working, is that with loop or while loop correct, did I have a typo anywhere or so. I just like go down to be more on the requirements level and tell it what needs to be done, how to be going about that. Testing basically. So look at the live notion and see the difference and say, sorry, but there with the bullet points, that's not just working. Please fix. And then it goes off, fixes it. And when it's ready, like in a few minutes usually, it comes back and tells me, hey, it's done, check it. And I checked and it's working. And I say, okay, now just commit it to like GitHub. So you don't even know to know Git at any way. You can just tell it like, push it to GitHub, here's the URL, do it. So, and that's crazy. I would lie if I would say that's possible for anyone, because actually without my prior experience and knowing how stuff is working, I wouldn't be able to like tell it the right things or ask the right questions. So I would say that's like 90% plus to do that. But if you do that, it becomes such a productivity boost. And I see the time like many others do as well, where my input isn't needed anymore. So I can just tell it like, do that stuff. And I probably could have even told it to look up the Notion page, pull it after it was migrated and compare it itself. So I would think even that is possible. And once you have that, you have a complete feedback loop. So it can like just iterate and fix and do and test and try all over until it's done. And it could be overnight. So I could spin off that agent tomorrow evening, go to sleep, wake up in the morning and have like the full thing fully tested, fully ready with a demo workspace where it cannot like break anything. And I'm done. And I think that's the future of software development. And it's now a smaller project, okay, agreed. But that was not thinkable, I would say even 6 months ago. You couldn't think of that sophistication level. And a year ago, it was absolutely unthinkable that you have an autonomous thing writing software that's really working, that you really trust your own nodes and everything to work with. It was a nice technical demo and deep dive, but going back to the like bigger picture, it's the implications that are huge. And I'm doing all those experiments also with NetN. Probably I'll do another video about that. What I'm doing with news flow, so stuff that's coming in and working through that with a no-code application and publishing stuff over to LinkedIn again. That was the reason I was a bit silent. I'm working on that system behind the scenes. So yeah, there's a lot coming, and I'm happy to share like my small steps along the way with you. Hopefully you learn something from it. I'm very happy for feedback. So if you have anything, just like comment or write me on LinkedIn. I'm very happy to like learn together with you. I think everyone can experiment a lot and learn with those new tools and in those new world. Enjoy your weekend, and thanks for sharing your time and watching my video.